The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw, Review.
Welcome all to another great W2M Raw review. Of course, once again, W2Mnet.com is where we're coming from. And just to let you guys know, I am Gary Vaughan, and along with me is your host, Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
Paul, it seems like we've got a lot to talk about for Monday Night Raw because they had a lot to talk about. And, it was talk. I think that's the best definition for it, right?
I think talk pretty much fits the bill for this episode, Gary.
So, it's going to be kind of fun the last few weeks, and I jump on here and I say, oh, wow, were they trying to do a Ring of Honor on us and just jump into wrestling and stay wrestling focused? And then all of a sudden, hey, we're back to conversations instead of matches. But, hey, we'll get into all that and more. Once again, W2Mnet.com is a place where you go find this great review and all the other great reviews that Wrestling to the Max brings to you every single week. SmackDown Live, 205 Live, and NXT Live. Or NXT. It is live at some points. They all are there for you guys. We're excited about them. And I want you guys to make sure you check them out. So if you don't go to WTMNet.com, you're just on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, Podbean. We are everywhere. So wherever you can find a podcast, make sure you just type in Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network. Hit that subscribe button. You'll get every single thing that we do. If you go to the W2M Network, you'll get every single basically thing that W2Mnet.com has to offer. And that's great because there's so many different wide arrays of subjects and great topics when it comes to podcasts that you guys are not going to want to miss out on. So go check that out. Also, make sure you rate and review after you subscribe. And hey, give our friends over at 411mania.com and LastOneProWrestling.com some love as well. They do a great job, so make sure you go check them out. Well, I guess it's time to get started on these convos that they had all night. Let's do it, Paul.
Let's dive in. And the women get a lot of focus, so we'll follow that thread first. And we open the show with Alexa Bliss and Mickie James coming on down to the ring. Of course, Alexa retains the women's title last night, Elimination Chamber. She's all super psyched about that. She puts herself over, how great she is. But she's not a selfish person, Gary. Mickie James did she had a big part in it. She puts her over too, and basically goes back to sort of complimenting her as this great mentor and a forerunner for everything that they're doing now. And then she sort of backhanded compliments Absolution and calls Bayley a, quote, sad situation, and says Sasha basically cost herself the match due to her massive ego. So basically, Alexa's out here spelling out the entire division, and nobody likes that, especially Asuka, who just really wants to kick somebody in the face, apparently, and decides that, now's the time to interrupt. So Alexa sort of backhands her and does the very, very racist, I'm going to talk slow to you so you can understand what I am saying thing. And this brings out Nia Jax, which eventually leads to a big old brawl that allows Bayley and Sasha Banks to come on down. And then we get into this 6-woman tag here, the Faces, and that might be kind of dubious at this point with Sasha, Bayley, and Asuka taking on Alexa Bliss, Mickie James, and Nia Jax. And I think this is fine. I mean, really the important part here is that you have Sasha taking a beating here. And she looks to go to tag in Bayley. Bayley, however, leaps off the apron and is not tagging her in. Finally, seeing her quote-unquote friend for what she's been doing to her, costing her opportunities, not only at the Royal Rumble, but of course last night at Elimination Chamber. Of course, this eventually leads to Asuka getting back into the ring, taking the tag there, and running wild. Bayley, of course, has no problem helping Asuka, and they run wild on the heels before Asuka manages to get Mickie James to tap out to an armbar. So, we did all that talking, and Gary, I don't really know what's changed because they continue to say that Asuka still hasn't picked her match yet, even though Raw seems to assume she's facing Alexa. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I would also assume that as well. I mean, coming into this matchup, we would really look and point our finger to it just being a simple, let's be honest, a simplicity of saying the Universal title is the Raw title and Asuka is going to stay on that brand, right? And so that's why you go and say Alexa Bliss is definitely going to be the contender. But you're right, they didn't really never addressed it. I mean, Charlotte's still hanging out there. It's not like Charlotte has a huge feud at the moment that's just keeping her down and keeping her away from defending that title just yet, right? So who knows? But, maybe they'll pull the rug out from underneath us closer to WrestleMania or something. But I think at this point we could assume that. But yeah, talk about this episode in general when it comes to the women's division. Starting out the way they did, I had really no problem talking and having the whole promo with Alexa Bliss. If it was somebody else, maybe not, but I think the promo is just really good, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that you have someone who can really keep the crowd interested. It was something that I think made people actually care about the start of the show. It was nothing boring and same old drib talk and this is the same promo we hear 100 times. No, actually, it was kind of interesting. She put down other people in the division, and it brought a little spark to the show when Asuka came down. So I liked all that. I think the beginning really did its job, and all the action, and of course leading into the match, which the match was pretty solid too. I think you got some great performances here, so I really do not have much to complain about here to start the show. I really do appreciate though that we are getting more into that storyline of Sasha Banks and Bayley. I think that's really, really good. Because you've been talking about it for a long time, Paul. You got to give yourself credit. This has been something you've been going on about, but yet we have not seen a lot of heavy signs until now. And hey, it looks like it's getting started heated, and I really like it. Honestly, I think that they did the right thing here. They're just dragging it out, and they finally are getting we're seeing lightning in the distance, Paul. But I'm starting to think that the thunder is not far away, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of sort of small hints last year before they sort of broke that apart while they were feuding with Alexa. And there's been bits and pieces to pick up on. And if this has been a very purposeful, slow build, then, hats off to WWE for pulling that off, because I really thought they were trying to fast track it to SummerSlam, and it was not so. They might have had their eyes set on WrestleMania, because you have people all over social media already penciling these guys in for a match there, which I could absolutely get behind more Sasha and Bayley one-on-one. And at WrestleMania, I mean, that's got to be a big deal for them. I think that's going to be a really big deal for the women's division as a whole, on just for the WWE, not just for Raw.
Does it concern you, though, that they would have this feud at WrestleMania? Because you're talking about a non-title match. So you got two women's title matches to defend at WrestleMania, plus Stephanie and Ronda Rousey, most likely. And that's what we're possibly going to see. So that would maybe put that match in the pre-show? I don't know. It kind of concerns me. I don't know about you.
I would say that they're both, higher ups in the women's division, right? They're very focal points, not only in NXT and sort of how we got to the point that we're at right now, but I think as far as Raw goes, they're outside of Asuka and Alexa now, and you could argue Nia. I mean, they're the division, right? I don't think you want to shorthand anybody, especially if you keep touting this Revolution business and making history and all that. And I think it really would say a lot if they had as much representation on the main show as the guys did, or more than in the past where it's just the title matches or random tags or whatever, So, if it was me, I would not put them on the pre-show. I would like to think that the people in the back also are thinking, you got to put this on the main show. You put this on the pre-show, you're going to have a fantastic match, and nobody's going to be there to watch it.
Yeah, that's true. It just concerns me when you got three other matches most likely on this card that do not involve them. And those matches, I know one of them for sure that's a non-title match that will not be on the pre-show. And the other two, I just have a hard time seeing them drop one of the major titles down to the pre-show. So maybe you're right. Maybe they just give them the respect that they're deserved, and maybe they get to share along with the men. Maybe it's a 50-50 kind of thing here, and that's okay with me. I think it would be actually a really intelligent thing to do. But who knows how that's going to shake out. But once again, I'm kind of glad that we are getting more fire underneath this, and Sasha and Bayley are on the horizon. Now, I will say this. I am a little still on the outs on the whole idealism of Bliss being really buddy-buddy with Mickie James just so far, because this seems to happen. It just seemed to happen overnight. Let's be honest. And all of a sudden now Mickey's on the other side facing off against the girls that were just teaming up with her 2-3 weeks ago. Kind of odd to me. A little strange. They don't really get into it, and it doesn't have a lot of meat to really sink your teeth into. So I don't know that I'm sold on that just yet, but I'm okay with it. I like heel Mickie James. I think it really has worked in the past, and I think it'll work today too. So let's see where that goes.
Yeah, I don't mind this. I think Mickie, once they turned her face, she basically wasn't interesting at all. At least with her running around with Alexa, she's got some easy stories to get into. And I like the idea of Alexa doing everything she can to sort of stack the deck, right? Because in the promo, she mentions that Nia is still deserving of the title shot at WrestleMania and not Asuka. So trying to keep that friendship alive, trying to keep Mickie James on her side, trying to get as many pieces into place to make sure she walks out of WrestleMania the champion, I think is a great angle for this, especially when, they continue to put over the fact that Asuka is basically this unbeatable monster at this point. So I really appreciate this angle that they're doing as far as Alexa and Asuka goes, because like you, I still do think that is gonna be the way they go, just because there's so much story and every time sort of wrapped up in trying to tell these girls, this is what they're doing.
Exactly. I got to give them credit. They're doing a wonderful job right now at this moment for the Raw women's division. To me, the angles are setting up now and really getting started up for WrestleMania time. It's just really clicking. So I'm really happy for all 6 ladies involved.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And of course, you mentioned her early, so let's go ahead and talk about her now. As Ronda Rousey's here once again in the main event angle, because Triple H and Stephanie coming down to talk about everything that happened during her contract signing at Elimination Chamber last night. Kurt Angle eventually comes down too, but he's initially blamed for everything that happened, right? All the back talking, all the acting inappropriately, all this other stuff. And Stephanie says, Ronda, I only slapped you so you could understand who's in charge, right? Because I'm the only one around here. I'm the boss ass bitch, right? That's the entire point. Angle, eventually, Rousey shows up. She's angry. She wants an apology. And basically the rest of the segment is Triple H and Stephanie sort of kissing up to her, telling her that they're going to make her this big star and they're going to do all these great things with her. And she just needs to realize her place amongst everything. And so Stephanie finally apologizes and welcomes her officially to WWE. But however, Triple H ends up attacking Kurt Angle and leaves the ring, and Rousey's sort of left to check on him as we go off air. So, I like this, honestly. I thought you could tell Rousey was much more poised. I think, the jitters were gone. I think she just looked very focused, right? And that's a great way forward to go. It's anything to call on stuff that she's done before, fighting training, anything like that. I think it's going to work really well for him. And it's easy when you got people as hateable in the ring as Triple H and Stephanie.
Oh, definitely. And, let's be honest, there's a lot of people backstage that can help her along with these, live promos and those situations that she's going to be in all the time in the near future, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there were probably some discussions after, last night, and just really telling her, don't worry, you're doing fine. We're just going to keep trucking along. That's what everybody in this business has to do. And I think that's exactly what you saw tonight. The understanding of, hey, I didn't do great, but I'm going to get better. And I think you're right. The poise was there. I think the confidence you could kind of see in the way she kind of stood and kind of looked at people. I really was appreciative of that. And so we'll see her grow. I really, really do. I think there'll be a day that we kind of forget that we really even had these conversations, because I think she's a true professional, and I think that she really puts all into whatever she's doing. So I think this is what's going to happen, and really looking forward to, better, promos and better things on that side of the fence. But, yeah, this was actually a really enjoyable segment. It's of course being the one thing that goes off the air, you would think, it's got to be something major. And, sure, Triple H punching, Kurt Angle, it's a little bit of a flare, but it's still something. And I think it's a surprise, because honestly, I wasn't seeing that happen. I was kind of, I'll be honest with you, Paul, as this was about to happen before they even got out of the ring, I thought, oh, this is going to be the worst ending to the show. Mm-hmm. They should have had something happen, and then clock. And then, okay, now I feel like, okay, we've got a little bit of smoke here, because this is what I want to see. So all that being said, I think it really was also fun to have, Stephanie come in and apologize like she was about to get in Ronda's face. I think that was a great touch. So there were some things here involved at the end that I really think brought some, good moments. But the one thing that I love more than anything is Kurt Angle saying, "Look, Ronda, I really need this job."
Yeah.
I laughed and laughed. I love that. So, It to me, it feels right. It feels like, Kurt Angle that, we love to just love, because he's kind of goofy at times. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. This is very solid. I'm really happy with the performance. It doesn't have to blow us out of the water. They did everything right here. They can kind of slow this thing down. It doesn't have to be heated up right away.
Yeah, I mean, we still have basically another month. Until WrestleMania, so, and of course, I don't know if Ronda's done filming the movie that we kept talking about forever on W2M, but, she's probably got still that on the horizon, so I'm sure they'll sporadic out the appearances up until Mania, and then after that, it's probably gung-ho for her, so.
Yeah, exactly, and the one last thing I'll say is, coming into this, I wasn't really sure, but, following last night, I really was kind of, I don't know. We'll see. And then as we got to this and they showcased it, I feel a lot better. Everything was addressed, even the Kurt Angle situation. All throughout this episode of Raw, I was like, they're really not going to address the Kurt Angle stuff. They're really not going to address it. So I am glad they addressed it, but they addressed it in a subtle fashion. At least they addressed it, though.
They did indeed address it, and that's, as you said, is probably for the best, because you don't want to let this hang. You have all this heat and everything from Rousey coming over. You want to make sure you keep capitalizing on that as much as possible. So, on the flip side of things, we also have The Miz basically dominating hour 2 here. Gary, he comes out. He's ready to. He's basically ready for WrestleMania. 62 days. He says he's going to be the greatest champion of all time, which I'm assuming that means he will have the most days as champion. Although I'm not entirely sure. So there's, there's a lot going on here. Basically, he's all fire. He's all piss and vinegar, and says that, I'm going to main event WrestleMania. I'm going to do all these things because I'm the Intercontinental Champion, because I'm the A-list superstar, all this other stuff. He's ready to find out who his opponent's going to be for the evening. It's Seth Rollins. We go directly into that match, and Seth ends up going over here in about 13 minutes or so. Ripcord knee, of course, and you have the Miztourage trying to get involved and failing. Rollins getting to look good here. And, of course, we aren't done with The Miz just yet, but thoughts on both of these segments real quick, Gary?
The Miz stuff was, just normal Miz, and that's fine. I think he did a good job, like always. There's nothing really I can say more about that. He makes some valid points. I mean, he's a great Intercontinental Champion, and let's be honest, the Universal Champion's not been around forever. So, I mean, he's defending more. He's everything that you would want to see, and, if you want to say an A-lister, really happy with the promo because it just made sense. But going into the meat of this, the match itself is a lot of fun to watch. I think Seth Rollins and Miz work well together here. not the best match I've ever seen or anything. I don't want people to think I'm blowing it out of proportion, but it was very solid. And I just know this: Seth Rollins winning. Not a big surprise, especially with the Miz kind of getting beat around a little bit about, Seth Rollins, because we saw that what we got last week, that means that they really want Seth Rollins to do something big. To me, it's could be going into what we're going to talk about on the part 1, episode 288 of Wrestling to the Max, because of a possible situation that could be happening in the near future for Seth Rollins. But right now, they are putting him as high as they can. Maybe not as high as Roman Reigns, but he's right behind him. So I really do like this. If that's the direction they're going, it makes sense. And, The Miz doesn't have to win all the time to still be great. So it's okay with me. I think, Seth Rollins is looking as good as ever.
I might debate you about this here in a second about The Miz losing, but I will say Seth Rollins continues to look like he's got everything in the world to prove, and he keeps showing it every time he steps in the ring. His performances, maybe since the Rumble, have just been spectacular every time he steps in the ring, so I really, really love seeing this out of Seth, just because I think it makes him stand out. Every time you see him now on Raw, you're going to get something really good.
I agree.
In the post-match here, you have Finn show up. Seth rolls out of the ring. And then it doesn't really start off all that well for Finn here. He gets attacked by the Miztourage. You have Gallows and Anderson come down to make the save, and we have a bit of a six-man brawl before Kurt Angle shows up and orders the Miz to face Finn one-on-one right now. Everybody else is going to get tossed from ringside, and if the Miz refuses, he will not be able to participate at WrestleMania. So the Miz kind of goes a little nuts as the bell rings, goes wild, tries his darndest to get this victory, Gary. It's just not meant to be. Finn Bálor, coup de grace, Miz is done, about 10, 11 minutes or so. I understand the point here, and I don't want people to think it's lost on me that they are absolutely building up to the Miz having big challengers ahead. Finn Bálor, Seth Rollins, this is not small pickings for this guy. These are big-name stars. You could argue, at least as far as WWE goes, one more than the other, but losing twice in one show, losing again last night. Your IC champ right now, after 2 days, has taken 3 losses, Gary. That's a little damaging in my mind, even though I think he basically carried the second hour on his shoulders and performed incredibly well.
I think what you're talking about here with his performance is spot on. I mean, the guy knows how to work it. I mean, he has got everything in play. His athleticism, his endurance, everything that he had basically showcased in the last 2 days has just been magnificent. So I've got no doubt on the fact that he, is great. And I get you. I understand the thought process of, him losing this much just makes people not care about The Miz or the Intercontinental Championship. And I kind of can see that. The one thing I'll say, though, is as long as the Miztourage is around, he's going to be that guy that kind of plays the part of just the scaredy cat, the guy that's going to do anything to cheat, to win. So you're already not getting a guy that's going to be held up as a great, just by himself, single star, even though, let's be honest, he should be, right? They're just not allowing him to do that right now. I don't think that's the part he's playing at the moment. So, I mean, as damaging as it is to some people, I think others kind of still love The Miz and still feel like he's going to be relevant. In my personal opinion, I think they're looking to get the IC championship off him in the near future. I really, really do. I think Finn Bálor would be an excellent Intercontinental Champion. Seth Rollins, if he sticks around on Raw, another great guy who would be an Intercontinental Champion and hold it well. I think they may have some other things in store for The Miz. Maybe it's even past Intercontinental Championship. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just saying there could be a situation where they're like, Miz, you've kind of earned your opportunity to be a little bit more up in the upper echelon, even though he may not get, the Universal title right away. He may be in that picture in the near future. I don't know. I just kind of see a trend here, and it makes me wonder if they want that IC title off him.
I don't know. I certainly, as much as I love The Miz, and him holding the IC title, just because when he does hold it, and this is going to go contrary to the point I was just trying to make, is that maybe it's sort of damaging him a little to lose this much, is that he does make the title feel important because, one, he carries himself very well, and two, every time he seems to hold it, creative seems to find a spotlight for him to step into, and he just goes out there and crushes it every single time. So, I obviously, I don't see why you wouldn't want that around your top title on either show. So if The Miz does get promoted to gunning for the Universal title after this, then more power to him. But I'm not necessarily sold on that yet, just because there's so many question marks, I think, at the top for Raw right now. Is Brock sticking around? We know Roman's winning. But if Brock's gone, then I would think Braun is still going to be his first feud up, unless you're going to toss The Miz into that equation and sort of have him feud with a bunch of different people at a time. I don't know. But I don't know if I'm sold on the idea of Miz getting boosted up, even though I do think he would be awesome, running the show again.
I would too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm probably jumping the gun. I'm probably more wishful thinking than this actually being something that's going to be something they actually do. I'm throwing it out there for the fact that I really feel like if you want the Intercontinental Championship to matter even more, you let him drop the Miz Taraj thing, and you let just let him be Miz and defend it. I think he's a great champion. I think you're right. He's done an excellent job with the Intercontinental title. I just think that they're going to like him being with a Miz Taraj, which is fine. It's fine. But I just see in the future the Intercontinental Championship changing hands to help somebody who really may need it. I love Finn Balor. Don't get me wrong. He's a great athlete. I love him from NXT, everything he's done on the indie circuit. But I think the Intercontinental title around his waist would make him a lot shinier, would make him something that would really be special. And I think a well-deserved title for him. Seth Rollins, I don't even think he needs it, but if they give it to him, I get it too. So let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Finn, out of all three of these guys, certainly needs the spotlight the most that championship could bring with it, so long as he keeps getting the same opportunities that The Miz does. So
could you Mania, just see him throwing for the two sweet with the IC title around his waist? That the crowd's going nuts. So
yeah. I mean, if they do finally pull the trigger on Bálor Club and all that too, that'd be terrific as well. So. So that was just some of the participants from the Elimination Chamber. Let's talk about the other ones, because we have a lot of talking to get through for two of them. And first one up is John Cena, who is depressed, Gary, to say the least. He failed to win the Elimination Chamber. He does not have a path to WrestleMania, and he's sort of feeling a bit sorry for himself right now. He's bummed out. Nobody's going to come to the ring and admit, that they failed or anything like that, or that he's the reason why he failed. He just didn't get the job done. So, when it comes to Mania, he's going to have to try to figure something out. And he thinks that, maybe he should have challenged The Undertaker a long time ago. But, according to what he's been told, that match is impossible. It can't happen. And so he's going to take his ball and go to SmackDown and try to find his way to Mania there tomorrow night. So, Gary, there's no easier way of making people want something more than to tell them they can't have it. And I think that is the absolute way they're going with this.
You're exactly right. They are treating us like children, Paul. We are little kids at the candy store begging our mom for just that one piece of candy that we've been waiting for. And we're told no, so we want to steal it because we can't have it, right? And you're willing to go for the distance. And I think that's what they want from the WWE Universe. I think that's what, let's be honest, they want from the Smark fans, because none of us guys who really, really like, to see, great wrestling, honestly want to see, maybe I shouldn't say this, but The Undertaker, he's older, let's be honest, and the matches that he's had as of late have not been well done. But it's just, let's be honest, I'd hate to say that, but he's just not there anymore. He's older. And I don't know how entertained if any of us out there that cover this week in and week out are just jumping up and down. I can't wait to see John Cena and Undertaker. It's just not the case. So this is the best way to encourage us to want it, to say, no, it's not going to happen. Don't even worry about it. And then when it does, you're kind of thinking, well, maybe it's not going to be so bad. Let's just give it a shot. Instead of just saying, hey, everything you predicted for the last year is coming true.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I could see that. I would still pencil this in as it's going to happen, right? And Larry seems to think that Cena might be getting Shane or something like that over there on 411, which is sort of an interesting thought of trying to interject him into that entire power struggle thing over there. But I don't know. I can't say I would be entirely opposed to this, even though I feel like you're not really going to get a better picture of The Undertaker leaving than what you got after Roman beat him last year. I think that's done. Honest to God, I wouldn't touch Cena Taker if I'm the booking team, just because I don't think there's any way you could do better than what you did last year, even though I'm sure the match could be better. The moment at the end is something I'll remember for a while, and I just don't think you should try to taint that.
We both agree. And I just look and say to myself, I'm sure these two guys, and seeing those two guys in the ring together, it's going to be a nice moment. It really will be. That's about it for me. Yeah. I don't think you're going to get a grand match, and I don't see what's it going to do. Drop the gloves again? Put the hat down again? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what you get out of this. Maybe I'm going to change my tune, Paul. Maybe when SmackDown happens, and maybe 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be like, oh, God, I can't wait. But as we sit here, I just don't want to see it happen. I almost wish they'd find another path for John Cena. And going to SmackDown, I'm just going to say this for John Cena, not a bad idea. I think that's actually a pretty intelligent move.
Yeah, I mean, the dance card's pretty full over here on Raw, so let's see what you can get up to over there on the blue side of things. Mr. Roman Reigns gets to come out and say his piece too, and he calls this a shoot, so you have to know most of the time, people, when somebody tells you it's a shoot, it's usually not a shoot. He basically takes the smarky fan side of why people do not like Brock Lesnar. He's never here. He's not into the business as much as we are. He's walking a fine line between trying to, between business and respect for him. And for Roman, he doesn't respect Lesnar at all. He's not anywhere near his radar on that at all. He's already, sort of looking ahead to UFC, and it just is not taking this place seriously or respecting it in the way that people believe he should be. And I gotta admit, this might be one of the few promos I think I actually like from Roman. Lots of good energy. I felt, it felt like he believed it too. And I think that might be the most important part about this promo, is that he absolutely believes everything he's saying during this.
You see, this is the Roman Reigns they should have always had.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because there would be so many more people behind him. I get it. They geared this promo towards you. Like you said, Paul, you said it exactly right, towards us marquee fans. But I also think the casuals appreciate it as well. Because I think there's a lot of them who are in that same boat, thinking of what Roman Reigns is saying is, we don't even have a Universal title on Raw. It's just not here.
Right.
I look at this and say, man, this may be my favorite thing that Roman Reigns has ever done. And I hate to say it that way, but outside of the ring, because the guy does do a great job. Let's be honest. I know if you're a Roman Reigns hater, you don't want to give him credit. I'm not a giant fan of his, but I got to give him credit. He's had some great matches. He's done some great work in WWE. Can't take it away from him. I love the fact that he did get us to have a little bit of sympathy, empathy for him and his plight, because we all are right there beside him in that plight. And I also got to say this. I got to give him credit for mentioning his family once again. And usually I would say, oh, come on. But to me, this fits the promo because he gives you honesty, he gives you truth, and I love the fact that he said, there's a fine line between respect and business. So I think it's good. I think overall, like I said, probably my favorite thing when it comes to promos that Roman Reigns has ever done. You said it all. This guy felt comfortable in his shoes. let's get more of this. We need this. If you give me this kind of Roman Reigns, maybe, heck, I'll even back this guy. But let me just say this, too. Paul, I love this promo for one fact. It made me actually want Roman to win at WrestleMania, and I think they did a good job getting that point to me.
You know, I can't disagree with you there. And simply, if Roman wins, that of course means we'll have a champion around every week, just like you said. And that's, I think this, like I said, that's what makes this so likable. And as far as the first step goes in this feud, because I'm sure we're gonna talk. Paul Heyman's gonna come in and remind him about the absolute shellacking he took at Brock Lesnar's hands a couple of years ago at WrestleMania 2, which I'm excited to see that video package again, to watch those potatoes that Brock was laying on Roman's face. But yes, I gotta agree with you. I mean, this is a Roman I could get behind, and I think we might have said that. Maybe you could count all the times we've said that on two hands, Gary.
You're probably right, and to me, it's something that I think they really need to pay attention to. They've yet to do it really, but they need to pay attention.
Right. So last but not least, you have this match between Braun Strowman and Elias, and this is just sort of haphazardly taking place in front of our eyes, I'll say. A little north of 5 minutes, this ends up ending in disqualification as Elias spends most of the match running for his life, trying not to get hit, and this eventually ends with him pulling out a fire extinguisher and spraying Strowman down. And in the post-match, you have Strowman continue to chase Elias, and Elias manages to escape this time, basically just pulling out every heel tactic in the book, and Strowman sort of gets cut off by a limo, but stops the chase. So I guess we're going to get this, and I might be a little generous calling this busy work for Braun, because they might not have a clue of what to do with this guy still for WrestleMania.
I think you're right, and I think Elias is in that same boat. So, I mean, this only kind of fits in. To me, honestly, this also kind of looks at us, in a situation where maybe Braun gets a decent match, but then again, I mean, if you don't do anything with him, it's just going to be kind of odd. Like, you're really kind of putting yourself in a weird situation. But this it was there. I love Braun Strowman. I love everything he has to offer. I just don't know that I was just totally in love with this. I didn't hate it. I just I was kind of very average with this, Paul. I mean, I've kind of seen this stuff before. Now, I do enjoy the fact that he didn't get the upper hand. It was Elias kind of being the little snake here and using everything that he can to escape. So it worked. It was just nothing grand.
Right. I mean, there is a kernel of a story here, and that is that Braun Strowman has not faced anybody that is just simply trying to hit and run against him. Everybody has come full force against him and tried to fight him, and that's not Elias's game here. He's going to do everything he can to be, just like you said, sort of the snake in the grass, attack you when you least expect it, all this other stuff. So I get this. I don't know if it's necessarily a story I will, really have a lot of interest in, but if you don't know what to do with Braun, then you don't know what to do with Braun, and maybe you should go look in the mirror and try to figure out what to do with this guy real quick. That's all I'm going to
say. You're not wrong, and the one thing I'll say is Elias has been a favorite of theirs for a little while as well, and it's kind of odd to see him in the same situation, and I think, if he does continue this feud with Braun Strowman, I think you'd do him some favors to seeing Paula Abdul's hit and run. So.
Oh, boy. Oh, God, you're dating us, Gary. Don't do that.
Sorry.
So we got two little tiny, I guess, one's not so tiny, the other one is basically tiny. Bray Wyatt comes down for a match with Heath Slater, ends up beating up both Heath and Rhino down, and hits Sister Abigail on both, calls out Matt Hardy, and basically tells them that the Great War is far from over and that they will fight each other once again, Gary. It better have some fireworks. I mean, legitimate fireworks.
that camel I keep asking for, the kitchen sink, and also an obsolete Jeff Hardy, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And maybe even throw in a Senior Benjamin. Oh, you got to have Vanguard 1 for sure. So
dilapidated boat.
Oh man. Let's be honest. They've got to get this thing going, though, Paul. Because if you slowly get into this thing, which you're right, we still have a month or so away. We still got a distance to go. But let's be honest. I think the interest has waned on this whole feud. I don't know that anybody's so excited about coming to Monday Night Raw and seeing this or watching it at home. Let's make us care. Let's make us really get excited about what's going to happen in WrestleMania. Otherwise, just forget about it. Make this post-WrestleMania, because you can't continue to do these kind of things and just get us to be, oh man, this is excellent. No, it's not. It's not excellent at all. Let's get those fireworks out.
Yeah, and let's be honest. You don't even need to go out to the Hardy compound or anything like that yet. You can just have these guys fighting all over the arena. I mean, it's showing the chaos and just turn this into an actual war, right? These guys, when they're in the same building together, they're fighting, and you know, show me them fighting in a boiler room. Show me them fighting in the ceiling, the rafters. You know, just give me something where it feels like a fight. Like these guys are truly fighting for something worth it to both of these guys. Because this talking stuff isn't working anymore. I think you got to get to the action, and it doesn't need to be matches. It needs to be just flat out fights.
Yeah, you're probably right onto something here, because as much as, you know, funny, crazy, cuckoo things these guys can say, the course it's run out. The time is out for all that. That's done. Been there. Yes, I agree with you, and I really think that would be something. I really never put that in perspective, Paul, but I would actually be on board. And invested in these two guys just never really talking, just beating the crap out of each other, not even having an official match. Just every time the camera pans backstage, kind of like we used to see Elias walking around with the guitar, just see these guys battling it out.
Just fighting,
all over the place. And heck, I mean, you could even throw some comedy in there, maybe have them in those rafters, and then just have Sting just sitting there going, hey, guys. You know, that'd be great. I would be all involved in that, man. So, I don't know. I'm really down on what they're doing so far. And please, I'm just scream this to the top of my lungs if I can, in the near future, if you don't fix it. That stupid graphic, the Woken glass break thing, it is I still hate it. I have not got endeared to it. It is the worst.
That is just classic WWE graphic stuff, though.
Oh, God, it's terrible.
It is not good. I agree.
God. So, I'm getting depressed like John Cena. I got to move on.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I necessarily left us the best thing to end on, but we have this 2 out of 3 falls match. For some reason, between the Bar and Titus Worldwide with the tag titles once again, as if losing clean as a whistle last night was not enough. The Bar come out and run these guys over in about 11.5 minutes, 2 falls to 0. And in the post-match claim that they are the greatest, nobody can beat them, they've beaten everybody, nobody, you know, there's nobody left for them to fight anymore, so what's the point? And, you know, it's kind of hard to disagree. There's the Revival, I guess, is all they have left. Which, you know, sign me up for that, right?
Yeah, and that's what I really think they're going to be doing. I really feel like that's the direction. And, you know, let's be honest, they had to win like this tonight just to kind of put Titus Worldwide behind them. They just had to. You know, when I saw this matchup, I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to go get me some coffee. Yeah. And I hate to say it that way because I kind of knew what direction they were going. And I watched the match. I just, you know, thought to myself, I'm really needing to watch this. And I probably didn't. I love Apollo getting the stuff in that he gets. Once again, like we talked about it during our Elimination Chamber pay-per-view review, I really appreciate that. They need to continue getting Apollo offense. But outside of that, this Titus Worldwide thing has kind of run its course at the moment, unless they can change gears, do something else that's spectacular. I'm glad this is the way it all shook out. And yeah, let's go ahead and have that matchup, the Revival versus the Bar. I'm ready to watch that.
Yeah, me too. Just because, you know, I mean, that's got to be some good wrestling in there, right? So, That does it for Raw, though, Gary. So we just got to rate this bad boy. What you gonna give it?
I think there were some solid moments on this episode. I really felt like the women's division really, really shined. If you ask me, the best content probably on the show. I really did like, maybe not, just a giant fan of The Miz losing or anything, but I think The Miz did himself at least some credit showing that he can, wrestle that long. Mm-hmm. But Seth Rollins and Finn Bálor just, they did a good job too. So nothing hating on those matches. I really appreciated that match, both matches. But the rest of it was okay. A lot of talking on this episode, not a lot of action. I think the content made sense for us. I'm just going to go a 6. I think that's where I feel comfortable tonight. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was a 6.
There's a lot of good progression on here, I think, and I found myself enjoying a lot of the directions they went. And it's not like you got anything out of this world amazing on this show, but there is a lot of good on here. I think I like it a little more than a 6, maybe 6.5. I don't think I'm quite willing to go 7. But as far as storytelling goes and trying to break up the giant glob at the top and get them off going in different directions for Mania, I think they did that very well, especially, like you said, in the women's division, where I think you could sort of starting to see a lot of seeds for some stuff growing into some mighty trees for WrestleMania to take place on. So real excited for all that. And, hopefully we get a little bit of better stuff, especially for the undercard next episode of Raw.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I'm just going to say this. This actually kind of got a little bit of that bad taste of Elimination Chamber out of my mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So, still kind of linger a little bit, but still I got most of that out, so I'm very, very happy with that. So, well, there you go, guys. Another fun Raw review tonight. We can't wait to do another one next week. But, hey, go check out W2Mnet.com to go get all the other review shows that will be happening this week. That's right. Harry, Brandon, and Liz, whatever variation it's going to be, tomorrow night, they are going to get on and do SmackDown Live and 205 Live. They do such a great job. I love listening to their content. So many great things that they have to say. Go check out them. Of course, Paul and I will be back Friday morning with your NXT review. So if you want to go and check out all those great shows, plus our basically twice a week normal episodes of Wrestling to the Max. 288 will be the episode. Part 1 will be actually, as you listen to this, it'll probably be available. And of course, Part 2 will be available Friday morning for you guys. Lots of great content. We're excited about some of the topics that we had to talk about this week, so go join us with there. Also, make sure you go find all the other great podcasts over at W2Mnet.com. The best way to do that is to subscribe, rate, and review over at Wrestling to the Max. But the W2M Network is the one that you're going to get all the W2M Network content from W2Mnet.com. And also, FormulaMania.com and LastRunProWrestling.com. They have great content, great articles. Make sure you go check them out as well. They support us. Let's go support them, guys. And until next time, as we will meet once again, I'm Gary Vaughan, Paul Leazar, and we will catch you guys down the road.
Have a good one, guys.
The previous podcast is a W2Mnet.com original podcast. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.